Paris, the city of love, luxury, and secrets. But when three of the most talked about names in the world, Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez, and Meghan Markle, collide under the glittering lights of the French capital, love quickly turns into headlines, and admiration turns into accusation. In a moment that no one saw coming, a seemingly innocent evening event spiraled into a storm of gossip, jealousy, and viral speculation. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, found herself in the middle of a billionaire-sized drama, accused of flirting with Jeff Bezos right under the nose of his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, a woman not known for staying quiet when lines are crossed. And when the dust settled, what followed wasn't just a celebrity misunderstanding, it was a public unraveling that exposed the fragile egos, hidden rivalries, and raw power dynamics that define today's elite circles. So what really happened that night in Paris? Who said what? And why did Lauren Sanchez allegedly snap, telling Meghan Markle, in no uncertain terms, to get lost? Stay with me. Because this isn't just about gossip. This is about the billion-dollar world of reputation, loyalty, and power, and how one evening in Paris exposed the cracks in it all. Before you decide who the real villain is, make sure you watch until the very end. What you're about to hear comes from inside sources, eyewitness accounts, and behind-the-scenes reports that major outlets only hinted at. Once you see how deep this story goes, your perspective on Hollywood royalty and billionaire power couples may never be the same again. The collision of two power worlds. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon and one of the richest men alive, has spent years building a new life with Lauren Sanchez, a former news anchor turned helicopter pilot and philanthropist. Together, they've redefined what a modern billionaire couple looks like. Glamorous, charitable, and always camera-ready. But enter Meghan Markle, the woman who transformed from TV actress to duchess, from royal insider to Hollywood producer, and from tabloid target to self-made brand. Her life has been a balancing act between fame and criticism, between independence and scrutiny. So when these two powerful women crossed paths in Paris, one a media mogul's fiancé, the other a controversial public figure carving her post-royal empire, it was only a matter of time before sparks flew. The event was meant to be a high-profile charity gala hosted by a European fashion house, an intimate but star-studded affair. Attendees described the atmosphere as electric, with billionaires mingling with royals, tech titans, and Hollywood elites. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked, and under the golden chandeliers, conversations about space travel, film deals, and philanthropy flowed freely. But amid the glamour, a different kind of attention began brewing. Meghan, radiant in a champagne gown, reportedly spent much of the evening in close conversation with Jeff Bezos, laughing, touching his arm during exchanges, and leaning in during group discussions. For most, it looked like friendly networking. For Lauren Sanchez, it looked like something else entirely. The glance that started it all. Witnesses claim that Lauren Sanchez's demeanor changed the moment she noticed Meghan's proximity to Jeff. Sanchez, known for her confident composure, suddenly appeared tense but controlled. One guest later told reporters that Lauren's eyes said everything. She didn't like what she was seeing. Insiders say Jeff seemed unaware of the shift in energy. He was being his usual self, charming, engaging, and generous with his attention. But to Lauren, who has stood by Bezos through his public divorce, scrutiny, and rebirth as a global philanthropist, boundaries matter. And in her eyes, Meghan Markle was crossing one. The tension simmered throughout the night. Meghan, perhaps sensing the vibe, reportedly tried to smooth things over with warm gestures and light compliments. But for Lauren, it wasn't about what was being said. It was about what wasn't. The body language, the eye contact, the shared laughter, it was enough to make her feel that Meghan was testing limits. And when whispers began circulating among nearby guests that Meghan seemed a bit too interested in Bezos, the story practically wrote itself. The Paris fallout, Lauren's fiery response. The night could have ended quietly, but it didn't. According to multiple accounts, Lauren Sanchez confronted Meghan later that evening in what sources described as a civil but cutting exchange. Lauren didn't yell, one insider claimed. She simply told Meghan, in her signature poised but direct way, that she should be careful how she carries herself around another woman's man. It was short, sharp, and to the point. Others say her words were more direct. "Get lost, gold digger," she allegedly snapped, echoing the phrase that would soon dominate social media hashtags and tabloid headlines. Within hours, gossip sites exploded. Lauren versus Meghan in Paris became a trending topic. Online debates raged, some defending Meghan as misunderstood, others applauding Lauren for standing her ground. But what made this moment explode beyond gossip was the symbolism. It wasn't just about two women and one man, it was about class, image, and power. It was about how Hollywood, royalty, and big tech collided in a single viral scandal. Meghan's side of the story. While Meghan never directly addressed the Paris rumors, sources close to her insist that the entire situation was exaggerated. According to her inner circle, Meghan was simply being polite, networking for upcoming projects related to environmental documentaries and women-led ventures. She admires Jeff and Lauren's work in philanthropy and space innovation, said one insider. She was trying to build a connection for future collaboration, not flirtation. But as with most things Meghan, perception often overshadows reality. Her critics painted her as opportunistic, claiming she was once again social climbing, trying to attach herself to billionaire influence. This duality has always defined Meghan's public image. To some, she's ambitious and misunderstood. To others, she's manipulative and calculating. And this Paris event, fair or not, only added fuel to both narratives. Lauren Sanchez, the protector of her empire. Lauren Sanchez has long learned the hard way that being underestimated can be a superpower. For years, her name was reduced to the title of Jeff Bezos' girlfriend. But those who know her best understand that label barely scratches the surface. She's a trained helicopter pilot, an Emmy-winning journalist, and an entrepreneur who has helped Bezos shape his public transformation from corporate titan to global influencer. Behind every public appearance, every polished red carpet photo, and every philanthropic announcement, Lauren's fingerprints are there, guiding, shaping, and refining the empire. When she reportedly confronted Meghan, it wasn't born from jealousy or insecurity, it was about principle and presence. Lauren has spent years fighting for legitimacy in an industry where women beside powerful men are often dismissed as arm candy. She's learned to protect her space with quiet force. That evening in Paris, when she sensed boundaries were being tested, she acted not as a partner afraid of losing ground, but as a woman unwilling to let another test her authority. Friends describe Lauren as fiercely loyal, razor-sharp, and emotionally intuitive. She can read a room like a script, and in that ballroom, she felt a scene unfolding that didn't sit right. Whether it was Meghan's charisma or her reputation for social climbing, Lauren wasn't going to play the background role. Afterward, while social media ignited with speculation, Lauren stayed silent. No posts, no statements, just composure. Because for women like her, silence isn't weakness, it's dominance. And in the world of billionaires, the one who doesn't explain herself usually wins. The media storm and Hollywood whispers. By the next morning, the Paris incident had exploded into a digital wildfire. Photos flooded tabloids, showing Meghan leaning toward Bezos with that practiced royal charm, while Lauren stood nearby, her expression unreadable but instantly meme-worthy. "Bezos love triangle," screamed one headline. "Markle flirts her way into trouble again," claimed another. What had started as a single whispered moment became a global frenzy before sunrise. Hollywood insiders couldn't stop buzzing. Text chains among agents, producers, and PR reps lit up like a gossip exchange. Some claimed Meghan had overstepped, that her networking instinct had kicked in at the wrong moment. Others insisted the whole thing was exaggerated, that Meghan was simply caught in an unfortunate snapshot. Yet even among her defenders, there was an uneasy acknowledgement that she had once again become the story, not the guest. Meghan's reputation for ambition, something once celebrated, had become a double-edged sword. In a city where image dictates access, perception can ruin relationships faster than reality. For Meghan and Harry, who had worked tirelessly to rebuild their public narrative, this was another unexpected blow. But for Lauren and Jeff, the optics were equally delicate. In billionaire society, where partnerships symbolize power alignment, even a whiff of scandal can shift influence. By the end of the week, the whispers had moved from the media to the boardrooms. Elite circles were abuzz not about whether Meghan flirted, but about how Lauren had handled it. The consensus: she didn't lose control. She controlled the narrative. What the Paris drama really reveals: beneath the gossip headlines and paparazzi flashbulbs, this wasn't just another celebrity misunderstanding. The Paris drama was a rare peek into the complex power choreography of the ultra-rich, where every interaction, every glance, and every whispered conversation carries weight. On one side, Jeff Bezos, a man who built a trillion-dollar empire by mastering control, both in business and in image. On the other, Meghan Markle, a woman who redefined modern royalty by rejecting tradition and shaping her own spotlight. And in between them stood Lauren Sanchez, not just as a romantic partner but as the strategic guardian of Bezos' personal brand. This moment exposed the unspoken rule of billionaire society. Power must be defended quietly but visibly. Lauren's reaction wasn't just emotional, it was symbolic. She drew a line, reminding the world, and perhaps Meghan, that her seat at Bezos' side wasn't ornamental. It was earned through resilience, influence, and partnership. For Meghan, the episode served as another reminder that her every move is magnified. Even in a crowd of elites, her presence commands disproportionate attention, sometimes to her detriment. She exists at the intersection of fascination and scrutiny, where admiration can turn into accusation in a heartbeat. In truth, this story was never really about flirtation. It was about hierarchy, who belongs where in the new aristocracy of wealth and influence. The old royal titles have been replaced by net worth and visibility, but the dynamics remain the same. And in Paris that night, Meghan Markle discovered that the morning after, damage control in motion. When dawn broke over Paris, the whispers had already evolved into headlines, and the photos had become the internet's latest obsession. Social media users dissected every frame: Lauren's stare, Meghan's smile, Jeff's posture, turning seconds of video into hours of commentary. The hashtag #ParisPowerplay began trending, and gossip pundits across platforms were already producing hour-long breakdowns before breakfast. Inside the PR offices of Los Angeles and London, phones were ringing nonstop. Representatives from Meghan's camp scrambled to frame the story as a misunderstanding, while Bezos' team decided that saying nothing was the most powerful move. Lauren and Jeff appeared together later that week, effortlessly coordinated, walking hand in hand down a Paris street in designer chic. Their demeanor said everything: serene, united, untouchable. For all the rumors, their image remained unshaken. Meanwhile, Meghan's team initiated what insiders called soft pivot mode. Instead of addressing the controversy head-on, they redirected attention toward her advocacy work. Carefully worded articles surfaced in major outlets, emphasizing Meghan's Paris trip as a networking opportunity for women's empowerment initiatives. It was smart, strategic, and expected. Yet, despite the PR wizardry, the internet had already chosen its narrative. Once a story catches fire, facts become optional. For Meghan, this incident wasn't just a tabloid inconvenience. It was another reminder of how fragile reputation can be when it depends on public perception. For Lauren and Jeff, it was proof that silence and unity could turn a scandal into a power statement. And by the time the next weekend rolled around, what had been a moment of tension had already become a legend, the kind of whispered tale that lingers in elite circles long after the cameras stop flashing. How the media turned a moment into a myth. Journalists live for stories that mix wealth, beauty, and tension, and the Bezos-Markle-Sanchez triangle was pure gold. Within days, tabloids from London to Los Angeles were dissecting every pixel of the Paris footage. What was Meghan laughing at? Why did Lauren's expression tighten? Was Jeff leaning closer than necessary? The analysis bordered on forensic obsession. Outlets hired body language experts, gossip blogs compared outfits, and entertainment channels replayed clips in slow motion as if decoding a diplomatic scandal. Commentators dubbed it the Paris power clash. Late-night hosts joked about the Duchess and the delivery guy. Hashtags like #GoldDiggerGate and #ParisPowerplay dominated timelines for nearly a week, fueling millions of comments and reaction videos. Every meme, Every headline, every snide remark reinforced one of the oldest formulas in entertainment. When powerful women collide, the world stops to watch. But beneath the surface-level humor was something darker, the way public narratives warp into mythology. The incident was no longer about what actually happened. It became a cultural projection. Meghan was recast as the schemer, the ambitious socialite who couldn't resist the world's richest man. Lauren became the jealous fiancé, the protector of her territory. Jeff, meanwhile, was conveniently written as the oblivious billionaire caught in the middle. The truth didn't stand a chance. It wasn't profitable. This is how modern celebrity warfare works. Algorithmic gladiator battles fought on screens. Context evaporates, nuance disappears, and a single glance becomes an archetype. The media doesn't just report stories anymore, it manufactures characters. And for Meghan Markle, who had spent years trying to reclaim control over her public identity, it was a painful déjà vu. She was once again the villain in someone else's script, her image rewritten by strangers, her voice drowned by viral noise. Meghan's PR counterstrike. Meghan Markle's camp understood one thing better than anyone: narratives don't fade, they're replaced. The only way out was through, and so the counteroffensive began. Her team didn't issue denials or apologies. Instead, they launched a calculated wave of visibility. Within weeks, Meghan appeared in a series of high-profile interviews and public events that painted her in a new light: poised, reflective, and purpose-driven. Gone was the glammed-up celebrity look. In its place came soft, neutral tones, minimalist styling, and a serenity that radiated composure. Every move was deliberate. Her charity appearances were paired with heartfelt speeches about female leadership. Podcast discussions centered around resilience and media ethics. Even her casual paparazzi moments were coordinated to look candid but controlled, a visual reminder that she was unfazed. Behind closed doors, her team studied analytics in real time, watching social sentiment shift from flirt scandal to graceful comeback. They tracked engagement graphs like stock charts, monitoring the slow climb of hashtags like #empoweredwomen and #purposeoverrumors. It worked, at least on the surface. Gradually, Meghan's image began to stabilize. Articles pivoted from mockery to admiration, praising her for rising above the noise. Public sympathy returned, especially among fans who saw her as a woman unfairly targeted by the press yet again. But beneath the polished calm, insiders say Meghan was simmering. To her, the entire episode represented something much deeper, a societal reflex to question ambitious women who move confidently in male-dominated spaces. She believed she had been punished not for her actions, but for her audacity. That frustration became creative fuel. Soon, reports surfaced that Meghan was developing a documentary exploring women and public perception, a project many saw as her thinly veiled rebuttal to the Paris saga. Industry insiders interpreted it as a brilliant pivot, transforming personal controversy into intellectual commentary. If the world insisted on talking about her, she would dictate the tone. The move reasserted her control, turning scandal into strategy, pain into purpose. For Meghan, this was more than PR. It was reclamation. She had learned that in a world where narratives spread faster than truth, silence isn't golden. Strategy is. Lauren's silent masterclass. While Meghan leaned into message management, Lauren Sanchez did the opposite. She said nothing. Instead, she let the cameras tell her story. Over the next month, she and Bezos appeared at events together. Gala dinners, art openings, even a low-key lunch with French officials discussing Bezos' Earth Fund initiatives. Every outing was a visual statement of stability. No interviews, no rebuttals, just presence. And it worked brilliantly. The tabloids slowly shifted tone. Where they once portrayed Lauren as jealous, they began calling her graceful under fire. Her poise, her control, and her quiet confidence became the story. Insiders say Lauren knew exactly what she was doing. She understood that sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's power. In a world addicted to noise, restraint can be the loudest move of all. Jeff Bezos, the billionaire in the middle. Jeff Bezos, for his part, navigated the storm with the ease of someone who's weathered far worse. While gossip swirled, He focused publicly on his philanthropic projects and his aerospace company, Blue Origin. Behind the scenes, however, sources say he was irritated. Bezos reportedly views distractions like this as brand hazards. The scandal had the potential to tarnish the narrative he's been building, that of a visionary reinventing himself as a global humanitarian and space pioneer. So he acted swiftly. Invitations to public events were filtered more carefully. Photographers were given less access. The message to his circle was clear: privacy first, gossip never again. Friends say the incident also reinforced Bezos' admiration for Lauren. Her composure under pressure reminded him why he fell for her in the first place. She wasn't just his partner, she was his public armor. Hollywood's reaction: loyalty lines drawn. Hollywood loves a feud, but it also loves alliances. After Paris, those alliances became crystal clear. Some of Meghan's supporters, notably actresses and producers she'd worked with, publicly posted messages about women supporting women. Others, more cautious, stayed quiet, unwilling to risk upsetting Bezos' powerful network. On the flip side, Lauren gained quiet admiration from a very different crowd: the power players who value control, discipline, and discretion. Invitations to private charity boards and events increased. People began to view her less as a former TV personality and more as a figure of serious influence. The lines had been drawn, not by choice, but by circumstance. In the elite ecosystem of fame, every scandal rearranges the hierarchy. The aftermath: from Paris to the present months later, the Paris incident had cooled, but the ripple effects remained. Meghan's projects with Netflix and Spotify were moving ahead, though under intense scrutiny. Lauren and Jeff were planning their wedding, while continuing to expand their philanthropic ventures. But the story never truly died. Every new photo of Meghan at an event with a billionaire sparked recycled headlines. Every appearance of Lauren in a glittering gown reignited whispers of "that night in Paris." And yet, in a strange way, both women emerged stronger. Meghan became more strategic, more self-aware. Lauren became more respected, less underestimated. Even Jeff Bezos learned something: that in the digital age, no fortune can buy immunity from gossip. What this scandal really teaches us: strip away the wealth and titles, and this story is universal. It's about jealousy, misunderstanding, pride, and the human need for validation. Meghan wanted to be taken seriously in elite circles. Lauren wanted to protect what she'd built. Jeff wanted calm in the middle of chaos, and the world wanted entertainment. But the truth beneath it all? None of them are villains. They're players in a system that rewards spectacle and punishes silence. Every smile becomes strategy. Every gesture becomes a headline. And maybe that's the real tragedy, not what happened in Paris, but what happens every day in the spotlight: the erosion of privacy, authenticity, and trust. In the end, the Paris drama was never really about flirtation. It was about perception, about how the world sees women in power, and how quickly admiration turns to accusation when the stakes are high. Lauren Sanchez proved that elegance can be a weapon. Meghan Markle reminded us that ambition comes at a price. And Jeff Bezos learned that even billionaires can't control the narrative once it escapes into the wild. They'll move on to new projects, new headlines, new moments under the same relentless spotlight. But the Paris story will linger, like a quiet whisper in the background of their success. Because that's how modern myths are made, not from truth, but from the echoes of it. Before you scroll away, remember this: the next time you see a viral headline about a feud, ask yourself who benefits from the chaos. Sometimes the loudest drama hides the simplest truth. That perception sells, and silence protects. If you found this story eye-opening, stay tuned. Because behind every red carpet smile and billionaire handshake, there's another untold story waiting to be uncovered. And here we dig deeper than the headlines.